Check 1, 2. Check. Okay.
Together again.
He was just for the recording.
Oh. Hi there. I know. It's so nice to meet you. It's nice to meet you too. Todd is wonderful. He wanted to be here. He's moving. Yes, he's been super busy, but oh no, he's great. He's got a million different things underway. One of which is he's building his family a shipping container home.
Oh,
That's interesting. A shipping container ice cream
maybe.
Cool. That's awesome.
Yes.
Okay, cool. He's like,
All right, we're about to get started, so please feel free to get your lunch and have a seat, and we'll get started shortly.
I know. We're gonna be sitting here with plates that we can't eat.
I know.
I would like to
Do
get
we
it
have
and just put it
Rebecca
off to the
here?
side.
Is she here? Okay, I know someone just give me a kiss. There's two people on that one. Okay.
It looks so beautiful.
Um,
Thank you. I know you usually see me in
yeah.
sweatpants, my hair up, and looking all disheveled.
And I'm not looking much better myself these days.
Yeah. And we put it over here too. Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
I'm so happy that you were able to do this. I told people like
Or I don't have the other
Apparently,
name.
none of us got the memo.
I need that.
I was like going,
I know. I hope they like the
how
same
come I
thing.
feel underdressed? I said, is it, in my head I was like going, is it?
You know what it is? I think a lot of it at this point is
Emily's
Yeah.
who've been basically
My
wearing sweatpants for the past
That's
week are
exciting.
just excited to be, you know, I mean, it is kind of a nice switch.
Oh,
You
yeah,
have to
sorry,
think of it
Emily.
that, and everybody looks lovely. I feel really
I'm fully branded. I have my entrepreneurs in the audience.
Ashley.
I don't think in Providence everybody would be so well dressed.
I'll turn the brand this way.
I'm wearing flip flops.
Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to come to Innovate Newport for this event. PPP, People Who Pivoted During the Pandemic. My name is Molly Williams. I'm the Director of Entrepreneurship and Innovation here at Innovate Newport. And I'm so delighted to introduce you to this panel of experts who, by career, by choice, they have chosen to support entrepreneurs. And we've been through a challenging time. And I think that we all understand that, you know, innovation comes out of either an opportunity or a need. And, you know, we really wanted to spotlight people who pivoted or seized an opportunity because it's completely inspirational. So that's why we're here. That's why we're doing this event. So thanks for being here. I'd like to recognize Mayor Napolitano in the back. Thank you for coming. City Manager Joe Nicholson. Thank you to our IT team over here from the City of Newport. And thanks to the Chamber team who came to support the event as well. I'd now like to turn it over to our moderator for this event, Carmen Diaz-Jacino. Carmen is the Vice President, Community Development Officer for Bank Newport. Before joining Bank Newport, Carmen was the Strategic Initiative Officer, Economic Security at Rhode Island Foundation, responsible for leading the foundation's activities and grant making for economic security. Prior to that, Carmen served in numerous roles over 12 years at the Center for Women and Enterprise. Thank you, Carmen. I also want to take this moment to thank Bank Newport for sponsoring this delicious lunch that is provided by one of the entrepreneurs up here, Basil and Bunny. So you'll hear more from this gang over here. But thank you again for being here and welcome.
Thank you, Molly. Hello, everyone. some housekeeping irons. Please feel free to grab your lunch and enjoy it now. Please, bathrooms are at the end of the corridor. And if you have questions, please just raise your hand and we will take questions in the middle of the presentation. As Molly said, my name is Carmen Diaz-Jusino, and I would like to do this today just as a conversation between women and some men. But I think that is more than anything a conversation that a learning opportunity for all of us. About a year and a half ago, America and the world were hit with a COVID-19 pandemic. This caused chaos on businesses large and small. Our everyday way of life was altered and actually threatened. And we are trying to go back to our old normal, but we are in our new normal, which I don't think we know what that is yet, but we're hanging in there. The nearly instantaneous economic recession triggered by the COVID-19 shutdown was considered by most the collapse of the globalization. With all that said, Harvard Business Review, an opportunity insight, a Harvard-based economic tracker, in May 5th, in a publication, they said that the number of U.S. small businesses that are open decreased by 33.8% compared to January 2020. Means that today is so important for all of us because of the fact that we are going to talk to people that actually pivoted when others were closing. And that's an example of, for me, adapting, but also an example of resilience. And with that, I will really, really feel that we are for a treat. We're also going to talk with 3 organizations, 3 executive directors that were there when all the entrepreneurs were going insane because we didn't know what to do. And they were there to support them and to find ways for them to be successful. I'm going to start introducing. On my right, we have Annette Tonti. Annette is the managing director of Rhode Island Hub, I'm sorry. This is the first innovation campus in Rhode Island, and it started it in 2019. They enable and accelerate entrepreneurs' ventures that have a potential to become high-impact, high-growth businesses. They also help turn ideas into startups and startups into scalable growth companies. They, in addition, provide mentoring services. They also provide incubation space and online community portal, as well as numerous programs to enable growth for entrepreneurs, such as customer discovery and entrepreneur's journey map. Annette is an executive with 30 plus years of corporate and entrepreneurial experience. She was an early pioneer in the online advertising and mobile markets, and the founder of 3 high-tech startups. Wow. I'd like to talk to that lady. And has raised over $30 million in venture and angel investors. Please let's welcome Annette. On my left over there in the last table, we have Lisa Riola, president and founder of Hope in Maine. Hope in Maine is Rhode Island's first full-service culinary business incubator. They provide affordable access, code compliance, shared-use commercial kitchens, education, and other technical resources to aspiring entrepreneurs, enable them to jumpstart early-stage food companies and food-related businesses. They have launched over 300 food businesses, including 60 graduates. And today, Hope in Maine is among the top 10% of the culinary incubators in the United States, establishing nearly 1 in 4 of the new food businesses in Rhode Island and responsible for almost 20% of all consumer packaged goods in the state. The model has attracted national and international interest and is successful in assisting women, immigrant, and minorities entrepreneurs to launch, scale, and thrive, bringing authentic place-based economic development to the region. Lisa Riola has more than 30 years of experience in program development, advancement, and business development in nonprofit organizations in healthcare and higher education, which with a special focus on distributed justice, social responsibility, and economic development. Lisa holds a Bachelor of Arts degree in biomedical ethics from Brown University, a Master on Public Health with a concentration in epidemiology, something extremely important nowadays, from Boston University, a School of Medicine. Hi, Lisa, and thank you for being here. And last but not least, we have here in my table, we have Ali Goyet, Program Manager for Social Enterprise Greenhouse, SEG, as we all call it. SEG provides the knowledge, networks, and resources to help people launch and grow inclusive, impactful businesses and organizations. SEG portfolio of more than 1,000 businesses and nonprofits create positive social impact for over 5 million people through improvements in access to education opportunities, training, and employment. Ali is, I got it right here. Ali is the program manager, is the program manager at SCG, and she had been with the Food Incubator for over 2 years, growing it from an informal experience to a robust 10-week program as of today. Ali's focus is in strengthening SCG core programming and maximizing impact while prioritizing historically excluded communities. Welcome, Ali. Also with us, we have 3 organizations, 3 companies that, as we said, you're going to hear from them. And I'm just going to mention their names now, but I first want really to talk to the organizations that work with them, okay? We have with Lisa Riola, we have Basil and Bonnie, and that beautiful and tasty, I bet, lunch that we have was put together by Matt and Leslie Medeiros from Basil and Bonnie. Here with, I feel like I need to move a little bit. Wait. Yeah, we're gonna take the microphone. Here with Annette, we have Allison. And Allison is the founder and president of Ocean State Shields, right? And also her partner, Todd Thomas, but he's not here with us today. But we want to give credit where credit is due.
Absolutely.
Okay, welcome.
Thank you.
And here in my table, we have Rebecca Gomez and Yolanda Macias. She's going to be here. Okay, Yolanda, why don't you come on? Come on down. And they are from Connection Latina Newport. And they are, SCG was the organization that worked with them. With all that, and it took us about 15 minutes to get all that done, I thought that we have, okay, are we good? Okay. I would like to start asking, okay, I would like to start asking probably just what, Annette, what was the challenge at the time when, you know, hey, COVID's here.
When it hit,
What
yeah.
happened?
So like a lot of us, and by the way, thank you for saving us some food. We're excited about that. And really excited to be here with you guys. By the way, the first company I started was right here in Newport called Blue Streak. We invented the expanding banner ad. You should know that about Newport. Anyway, it's expanded. It was invented here. Okay, so the thing about the pandemic, like a lot of people, I was traveling, and I showed back up. And all of a sudden, everything shut down. I literally went back up to work because RIHub is in Providence, and 2 days later, it was like, shut it down. So what happened, actually, so RIHub focuses very much on high potential growth startups, which means maybe not just the local, but can grow outside of Rhode Island. And often they need things like capital and certain kinds of talent. The biggest thing that happened immediately was 2 of the companies we were working with on getting capital, it just stopped. So they were going down the pathway, they almost got investment, and the investors just pulled right back and said, we're not gonna do that now, mainly because everything was unknown. So I think that was the downside. We actually had some upside, I think, but we could talk about that. Are you interested in hearing?
Yeah, no. What about you, Lisa? What was the challenges that you saw right away and that you maybe you identified from your members?
Well, what was happening was obvious all around us during COVID, which was the collapse of global supply chains and national supply chains for food. So those supply chains were severely disrupted because they rely pretty much on big food and big ag, which sells into, food service, restaurants and so on, and all of these things were shutting down. So a lot of our smaller companies no longer had easy access to their customer, to their marketplace. And, in some ways, unlike the other incubators, we all work together at Hope and Main because we're sitting there sort of in a bullpen office with our team and also all of our members. So we had a front row seat to all of this. And we had to move very quickly as a community into problem solving, which we'll talk about later, to essentially build new supply chains and new relationships very quickly within this COVID environment where things had shut down and everybody had issues with food access, but in particular, folks who are food insecure had special challenges that we were also trying to solve. So we had people who were making food, had no one to sell it to, and people who needed food and had no place to get it. So those were the problems we saw right away.
Okay. What about you at SCG? I know that you guys were doing a lot of different things, but what happened?
Sure. Excuse me. So, as we all know, COVID brought a vast array of lifestyle changes for all of us. Stay at home looked different for everybody. So, for our members who are currently in programming, this meant pivoting virtually. So, we had folks Zooming from their cars, from their basement, their attic, from the bathroom, just because that was the one spot they could get that time alone to be able to focus. I think one of the bigger things that we struggled with was that when support became available, a lot of our folks weren't eligible for it. So whether they didn't have a website or maybe a form had lapsed, we had to do a lot of work building them up to the point where they were even eligible to get that support. Definitely one of the biggest challenges, but the toughest of all for everybody, of course, was just the uncertainty, not knowing what happens day to day and what that's going to look like.
And just continuing in that, in Ali, this is, what services do you offer to your members to support them? And what was the advantage of problem solving during the pandemic in that environment?
So SEG, we ended up pivoting all of our services virtually, and for the ones that we hoped to come up, we made sure that everything was going to be pay what you can or free, so that there would be no cost barriers for anybody there. We also launched new services, such as a virtual consulting group focused on adaptive strategy pivoting towards the pandemic, a new COVID-19 response incubator, and a live video series, Innovation as an Antidote, Rhode Island Impact Entrepreneurs Responding to COVID-19.
What about Rhode Island Hub?
So Hub, we never charge for anything, and it's all there for anybody who needs it. And so a big part of what we do is called Venture Mentoring Services, VMS. And what's interesting for the state of Rhode Island is probably one of the best assets we have as a state. We have about now 80 or close to 80 mentors that are vetted, and they spend time with our startups, with our entrepreneurs. They're there 100% for the entrepreneur to help them grow. It is unbiased advice. Well, we grew so quickly during the pandemic for venture mentoring, and the reason I think is because of Zoom. Frankly, it was easier for our mentors, because our mentors actually do group mentoring, so it's like 3 mentors to 1 or a couple entrepreneurs. We were able to actually, we've done over 3,000 hours of volunteer mentoring. And I think Zoom had a lot to do with it, frankly. And the reason why is because you didn't have to get up and drive in your car and go to Providence or go to a physical meeting. Now, the flip side of that is physical meetings are wonderful and they're great to be able to talk with people. But frankly, the pandemic forced us into a scenario we actually could do. We're up to probably 2 of these a day, which is a lot. But, so that's kind of the positive side. The Zoom, and I think we're all trying to figure that out now, like which meetings do I go to by getting in a car? And which meetings do it, can I just do this online? And, because it's a lot quicker if I can just get this done. So that's a big change.
Yeah. Lisa?
Yeah, so I agree that Zoom was, I know there's all Zoom gloom now. People are not thrilled about Zoom,
Zoom
but it
gloom.
it really was a lifeline during COVID, and we also continued our business education, our technical education that we could online. And Mary Spicer, who had just started during COVID, really was just a master of, she's our entrepreneurship program manager of moving everything online. However, you cannot make food online. You need a physical space and you need a code compliant kitchen. And so we're a very physical business. And so one of the things that we had to do is figure out how to keep the incubator open. In May, in March, April, and May, we had almost no revenue at Hope in Maine because we were not, we're not charging people who weren't producing or couldn't afford to be there, but would still need the kitchen space at some point in time. So we, we did a couple of things. One, as I said, is we turned to our very strong food network and food partners to find channels for our makers. And What's Good, no one's here from What's Good today, but What's Good, Farm Fresh RI, and even many of the farmers markets, which were considered essential during that time, and Bevan's here from Quidnet Community Table, remained open. And so those became essential channels for our members to continue to sell. And the issue that I mentioned before, which is food insecurity, because we were a facility that was food safe, the school district and other organizations turned to us for our infrastructure so that we could distribute meals to the East Bay School District. And when we started to do that and see food insecure people showing up at our doorstep every day, it wasn't a big leap to say we need to do better for the folks who were unable to buy food and didn't have the resources. So we raised, over the course of the last 18 months, about $350,000 for a program called Nourish Our Neighbors, where we were asking our members who didn't have a lot of business. We said, how about if we give you $1,000 a week to make meals for food insecure? So we were able to create business continuity for those members, feed people who needed food, and in some cases, a lot of those meals were sourcing locally, local farms that also were hurting. And so there was sort of this triple win in all of that. And then added on to that, we started to sell the meals through community-supported meal share. So people could buy these meals, and like Tom's Shoes, if you bought a meal for yourself for essentially double the price, so it's $20, you were buying a meal for yourself and you were able to give a meal to someone else. And so, the urgency of the moment created, I feel like COVID gave us this radical permission to innovate and do things that we would have probably never thought of before. And it turns out there are better ways of solving problems than before COVID. So I like to say I don't like to think of this as the new normal, because the old normal wasn't great. And the new next is really what we know we can achieve now.
One of the things that I said when the pandemic started, it was that at the end of the pandemic, I would have loved to see humanity in all of us because of what you said. You never thought that you were going to get in your steps people actually looking for food, but everyone pitched in. And I think that that's one of the pluses that we have seen in the pandemic, and how we cared about our neighbors and how we cared about each other. You mentioned one word that I would like all the entrepreneurs here to write it down if you have a paper, but more importantly, work on it. Continuity. You need to have a plan, because this pandemic has shown us that not just anything can happen, but we are never prepared. You know, this is, I've always mentioned, I mean, when we get a hurricane, we just have a storm, and we don't think that we're going to get another one. You know, it can be maybe next month, next week, who knows? Oh, no, when it happens, we take care. No, you need to think about it today, because continuity, be sustainable is one thing, but for you to actually be prepared, disaster prepared and continuity plan, you need that in your business, okay? Now I do have another question, and after that, I promise we're gonna go to the entrepreneurs, but this is more, Ali mentioned a little bit about how their members were not ready to actually access capital and all the different things that were happening in all the United States. But let's say here in Rhode Island, Lisa mentioned also some of her businesses were not there yet. And Annette mentioned that some of hers, actually, their investors pull out. Now, this is more like, what did you observe about the benefits of peer collaboration? In what ways was advocacy, you know, more effective? How did the community accelerate, recover, discover? How do that happen? Because for us to be there today and be actually, I would say, prepared for recovery, a lot of preparation happened. A lot of advocacy has to happen for your members to get what they need, and your members. How that happen, Annette?
You know, it's interesting that you mention this, because with the kind of companies we spend a lot of time with, they tend to not have any revenue yet. And that's why they need capital in a different way. So for us, we did like every other website. We published all the information, get your PPP loans, here's how to do it. We helped if they could do it. But the problem with a lot of the constituents that we work with is they weren't eligible, because we didn't make any revenue. So yeah. I mean, and so that is an area that we'd like to see maybe changed a bit in the future if we get into these situations. I think it's wonderful that, you know, the government did come out and do things to help those that are out there that could use it, but for us, it didn't make a big difference. So, yeah.
What about for your members out?
I'll have to agree on a lot of those points. I know a lot of our local organizations collaborated with one another to get the word out for PPP, all the opportunities available. At SEG, we created a special web page, again, with just COVID-19 resources, anything and everything, whether it's personal or for a venture. I think that those practical and tangible resources like PPP was fantastic. We also worked with someone on a technology grant to get folks, you know, the computers, the licenses, the programs that they need, and the training that they need. So we opened resource office hours to, you know, spend one-on-one time with entrepreneurs to help them navigate these key processes, these applications, and kind of assess their needs moving forward.
Okay. Lisa?
Yeah, I will use this now. Sorry about that. The issue that I saw that gave me a lot of encouragement was our ability, because we were so proximal to our members, to work with the state and even the federal government in this really great dialogue and a very flexible process to figure out how funds that were flowing to Rhode Island would best meet the needs of our members. And, you know, for an example, the Restaurant Revitalization Fund seemed to only be for restaurants, except when we sat in with SBA and talked about that. And I said, listen, we have many makers that are selling directly to the eater. They may not have bricks and mortar, but they meet this definition. They need to be eligible for this. And so I don't think a nuance like that would have happened if it wasn't for us, for all of you. Many of you are at Open Main, really informing the process. So these communication channels that I don't think were there before or were not as flexible, suddenly became vital. And again, that's another thing I hope we preserve in a post-COVID environment.
I really hope so. Do we have any questions before we move on to talk to our entrepreneurs? No? Okay. May I borrow your?
It's very loud.
That way, yeah, that way maybe.
So why don't you two sit next to each other, actually?
Hear me now? Okay. Yes, it is loud. One of the things that all entrepreneurs need to have, and I think, as I said at the beginning, that the COVID-19 pandemic have taught us is adaptability. I mean, when I was at the Center for Women and Enterprise, I used to tell all my clients, remember, you're going to be the CEO, but at the same time, if something needs to be clean, you're going to be cleaning that. And if you need to deliver something, not because the delivery person didn't show up, is going to stay there. No, you're going to be delivering. You're going to be doing everything plus. Means that is part of being an entrepreneur. And that happens now. I mean, I think that it is something that those that didn't know actually understands now that it's going to be more and more. But also, I think that resilience, as I said at the beginning, for the entrepreneurs. And one of the things that I value a lot is that the three entrepreneurs that are going to talk to us today, they all went and got help. They recognized that the technical assistance was what took them where they are today. They have the advocacy, they have the channels, they have the opportunity to talk to people. They did look for help. And remember, as an entrepreneur, one of the things that we always see is that you feel alone. They're here for you. I would like to introduce, actually, Allison. Allison is, give me a second. Allison is, as I said from the beginning, from Ocean State Shields. She worked with RI Hub with Annette. Ocean State Shields launched in response to the COVID-19 pandemic in April of 2020. Can you imagine that? April 2020? We didn't even know if we were going to make it, and you're planning on launching a business. They developed a suite of innovations to assist local businesses and organizations in remaining open. In 2021, they have pivoted to become a comprehensive public health solutions company addressing complex challenges in an affordable way. Congratulations. Thank you. You want to share a few words? Just a few words. Hello, and I will take it away from you again.
Okay, perfect, wonderful. Hi, everybody, and again, thank you for having me here today. First off, my name is Allison Cody. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Ocean State Shields. Before I go any further, I cannot say enough about the resources and the experts that are here today. Hope in Maine, SE Greenhouse, Rhode Island Hub. During my career as an entrepreneur, I've had the chance to work with everybody, all three, and they are nothing short of amazing. They have been instrumental and key in everything that we've been able to do. So yes, we did launch in April of 2020, and we've got some really fun and interesting stories that we can share. We will do that in a minute.
Thank you. Thank you. Here we have Rebecca Gomez. Mm-hmm. Rebecca Gomez and Yolanda Macias. Macias. And they are from Conexión Latina Newport. And let me just get that right here. Give me a second.
Doing a great job.
Oh, my God. So many papers and things. Thank you, guys. I said at the beginning, this is just a conversation. Trust me. Conexión Latina Newport was established to support the needs of the Hispanic Latino community by creating connections and partnerships with resources and advocacy and creating pathways to increase access and representation throughout the city of Newport, Rhode Island. When do you launch your business?
We really started in October of 2019. One of our other founders, who's no longer with the organization, and I did the incubator in January. I think so. And then in March, everything
Shut
closed
down.
down, and
Yeah.
we had to pivot.
That's it. That's it. We will be back in a minute.
Yep.
And here we have Matt and Leslie Medeiros, right? Yes. And I will find everything about you in a minute. In a minute. Okay. Okay. We have Matt and Leslie Medeiros from Basil and Bonnie, and they work with Hopi Maine. Basil and Bonnie is comfort food inspired by multicultural flavors and entirely plant-based. Matt and Leslie Medeiros have created center of the plate mouth-watering dishes that you crave with the goal of increasing the vitality of people's life while reducing the world's dependence on animals, one meal at a time. And you can say that, all of you that already have your lunch. Mm-hmm. Yep. Oh God, I see. Your inaugural Rhode Island Veg Fest was in February 2020 when you guys started it.
It was February
23rd.
23rd, yeah. Sorry, yeah.
Just right, like.
Yeah, so it was February 23rd of 2020. That was our big first huge launch event. And yeah, we know what happened after.
2,000 people packed in a room, maybe this size.
But yeah.
That's not gonna happen.
We didn't think about that then.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, why don't you keep the microphone, because I'm gonna
Okay.
ask the first question to you.
Sure.
Tell us a little bit about your business, and please also, what kind of support did you receive from Hopi Maine?
Yeah, absolutely. So our business started off as just like a passion project. It had been in concept for many, many years, and we had actually taken the plunge. I quit my job of 15 years in December of 2019 to launch Basil and Bunny and work on it. And yeah, so we've been vegan for quite a few years, and we were not professional chefs, but we have had a passion for cooking, and we've had these ideas, and we really wanted to share it with everybody, and we really wanted to show people how delicious and how accessible vegan food can be, and how you don't have to feel deprived of animal products. So that's a little bit about us. We are a food truck too, and so yeah, we started with Hope in Maine probably in October of 2019. Right. We did a lot of the cohorts there and got everything kind of set up, but they've been so supportive. When the pandemic hit, we had to pivot, and we switched to online ordering very quickly, thanks to this guy right here. Hope in Maine was very, very supportive, and they actually let us use our food truck in their back parking lot. So we were able to actually have a location to sell our products from when there was nowhere to go at the time, and all of our events had gotten canceled. And of course, Nourish Our Neighbors too has been so supportive, and that kept us afloat for many months too. So thank you, Lisa.
You mentioned your lasagna.
Our lasagna, yeah, we had. We did a lasagna. We did a vegetable lasagna. It was a butternut squash, is Lisa's favorite. And we did that for the Nourish Our Neighbor program. It's actually one of our biggest hits, and we sell it through What's Good still to this day.
We'll be back to you.
Yeah.
What about you guys? Tell me a little bit about your business. How do you actually connect, the Latino community with the resource? But where were you exactly when all this happened?
So I've been working in the Newport Public Schools for about 17 years, and because I speak Spanish, I just, end up. I'm not a teacher. I do family advocacy, and family outreach. So I had all the Hispanic families. My partner Yoli works in the office at St. Joseph's Church, which has a very large Spanish-speaking population. So just from our jobs, we had a lot of exposure and knowledge of the Hispanic community, and we knew what their challenges were, particularly the newer immigrant families, the ones that have been here for less time. And so we decided with a couple other women that it was time to, the other thing that was happening is that these families, because they had so much trouble accessing services in the city, from the local agencies, from the school department, everywhere. Yeah, everywhere. There were some people who were bilingual from the Hispanic community who said, oh, I'll help you. And they would help somebody and bring them into school to register and charge them $200 just to fill out the registration form, which is a service that the school department by law has to provide. So that was absolutely ridiculous. They'll charge people to walk up and down Broadway if they see a family that needs to go to Walmart or whatever. They'll say, oh, I'll give you a ride, and then they charge them $20 each way. It was sick. So a friend of ours is a teacher at Rogers High School, and she called me one day. She was furious, and one of our students came in, Spanish speaker. He'd been out for about a week, and he came in and he had this beautiful letter written in English that said, please excuse my son, he's been sick, we're sorry that he couldn't come, blah, blah, blah. And she goes, wow, this is really awesome. You know, how'd you write this letter? Who helped you? And he goes, well, this guy that we know, he told us that if we didn't write an excuse letter, that I would probably get reported to immigration. And he only charged us $50 for the letter. And we were like, what? So that was it. We were all like, it still makes my hair stand. So we decided that we had to do something. So our goal was to unite the Hispanic community and then kind of slowly, you know, kumbaya, learn what their issues were, learn where they needed help, and then try to, the city is very, very rich in resources, but they're just not accessible to them. So our goal was to be that link, that conduit between them and the resources, as well as working with the agencies, with the city, with the school department on how they could be more Hispanic friendly and, you know, just make it a more comfortable experience and a more accessible experience. We did the incubator. And then on March 3rd, we presented to the Newport Partnership for Families, which is an organization that kind of represents all of the nonprofits and service agencies on the island. And they have a monthly partner meeting where a representative from all the agencies comes. So we presented to them, we did our little slideshow, it was very cute, and then like a week later, it was like, what happened? So the director of the partnership called us and she said, I was just on a call, and the Rhode Island Foundation and United Way are offering funding for organizations that want to provide food access to families. And we were like, sign us up. So we spent 6 to 8 weeks. We had a really good list of families. You know, we knew where they were. We just had to put them down on paper. And we spent 6 or 7 weeks providing grocery food cards, food from the church, and delivering them. We were delivering twice a week. For 6 weeks, we were going around to their houses. We would call them. We would drop it at their door. We'd get back in our car and we'd go. Then we got another grant to offer housing assistance, rental assistance, and utility assistance. We work with the HES, which is the Newport Health Equity Zone, still assisting families with COVID access. We've gotten probably about 700 people tested and vaccinated on the island who wouldn't have been able to access that on their own. You know, we all see it. Oh, let me just go online. Here's a graphic. You know, here's a little code thing that I can take a picture of and go on and register myself. Yeah, that's not so easy if you're just on a phone, or even if you know, even if it is in multi-languages, they don't all read so well, and it's very overwhelming to see all of that. So we served as that conduit. They would call us. We'd go online. We'd sign them up. We'd send them a snapshot of their appointment, and they would go. So that's, you know, that's how we pivoted, and you know, someday we hope to get back to our initial our initial goal. But we're just, you know, we're continuing on that, kind of putting out fires and working on it. And we just would like to say that this week we opened our Hispanic Community Access Center at 170 Broadway. And you are all welcome to come by and visit.
I thank you as a Latina, thank you, but also thank you for not just thinking about what was needed at that time, but just to roll your sleeves and do whatever was needed.
Yeah.
Thank you. Tell me a little bit about you, because you said, nah, let me just start something now. We have the time.
It's actually funny. That's actually kind of exactly what happened. When the pandemic hit, I actually have been an entrepreneur for a while, but I had taken a job intermittently as a consultant. And when the pandemic started and we started to see that things were happening, my co-founder and I had a conversation and said, you know what, we actually have an idea we need to do something in order to help some of the local businesses, because we could see the trajectory the virus was taking, and coincidentally, the company that I had been working with was the one that has developed one of the long-term antimicrobial surface adherents. So that actually deals with pathogens and viruses and COVID. So we put together Ocean State Shields in literally 2 weeks. There was no incubator. We did not have a business plan written out. We took none of the steps that most entrepreneurs, and I am ashamed to say, normally would take in order to launch a business. We ran right through, got everything registered, and said, okay, let's go. And that worked really well for maybe like 2 months. In which case, you know, we had developed, you know, some early clients who were early adopters for the interior spray treatments that we were able to offer, and that was great, and we were getting some recognition. And then all of a sudden, things got worse, and then they got a lot worse. And then Governor Raimondo just came up with the idea of doing the whole Take It Outside campaign. Now, that was actually a really brilliant idea, because it did help a lot of businesses continue, even though I know it was kind of tough in the launch of all of that. But for a company that really kind of started and originated based on interior treatments, we went back and we said, okay, well, now what are we going to do? So Todd, my co-founder, it's really too bad he can't be here. He said, okay, he's an architect, he's an industrial designer. He's like, I got it. Give me 36 hours. I said, okay. You know, because you have to trust your co-founder, right? So all of a sudden he comes back and he's like, okay, so you know you've seen the outdoor igloos, and and I said, yeah, sure. He goes, this one's better. I said, and explain how. So he did, and you know what he actually designed is really now known as kind of like the Tesla of the igloo class. So we then were tasked with finding local manufacturers, which we were able to do. We were able to source local ingredients, local manufacturers, help keep them open. We then went and we got some funding through Commerce RI, and we were able to deliver igloo kits to just about 100 different businesses throughout Rhode Island and Mass, and that was awesome. That was so much fun for us. But at the same time, we're like, well, this isn't going to keep going forever. So this is when Annette and her team stepped in like, hello, what are you doing? So they offered us the opportunity, because we were just like hair on fire and everything was crazy, and we're delivering things and trying to set these things up, and it was really just madness, but fun. And they gave us the opportunity, even though we hadn't gone through the accelerator, to come in and join the venture mentoring services. And Annette and Mia Nolan, they put together this amazing team of people that we are able to work with. And we have I'm really psyched, we have 3 awesome mentors. And we've been meeting with them on a regular basis in order to like really refine our mission, figure out what our next step is going to be, our trajectory, what's realistic, what's not, what things we need to abandon, which things might require further investigation, and really help connect us into different things like funding mechanisms, because like a lot of the other businesses, we didn't qualify for anything. We launched and we were live without a net from day one. Which was wild. So I got really used to eating ramen, because that went on for a little bit. But it's been super interesting. So even though we were really kind of recognized as pandemic response, and it was fun because it was a blast seeing our igloos everywhere, and that was really cool. When it was kind of, the great thing is, the thing Rhode Island did right is all the small businesses really came in and supported each other. So all the people, if you were gonna eat out, you went to a small restaurant. You didn't go to the chain. If you went to go shopping, you went to the mom and pop store. You didn't go to the big box store, and that was awesome, and it was really great to see. So now that we're kind of on this curve, it's like, because I don't want to say it's over, because I think that would be unrealistic, but we're on a curve. So with Tata, we were like, okay, well, we're not so much pandemic response. Annette and her team are helping us pivot into being a public health response innovation company. So what we're able to do now is we're able to address all 3 key concerns that people have. We're able to address your outdoor living spaces with our outdoor structures, and we're super psyched. We're going to be working with groups like Wayfair and Cardi's and all of that. So we've been super lucky. I have no idea how or why, but we have been. we're able to address interior spaces with our electrostatic spraying and our non-toxic treatments that we're able to bring in and then actually offer just for sale. And then we're able to offer things that deal with air filtration. And in all of this, we were actually able to partner up with UMass Dartmouth, and we are working on the final prototype for an air filtration system, which is going to be incredibly affordable. It's going to be about $100. And it's going to be able to retrofit over any existing system that older buildings currently have in place. So we came in thinking we were only going to do one thing, and then kind of overnight we had to turn into a triple threat. But it's been really cool. It has been a wild year, really wild year, but it's been a lot of fun. And I don't think we would still be here, or at least even remotely sane, if it weren't for the resources that Annette and Rhode Island Hub and Venture Mentoring Services and Rhode Island, Commerce RI and everybody were able to bring to us, because we did kind of launch with our hair on fire, and it was a little bit of a different scenario. But yeah, it's been a blast. I can't wait for we get to show you our new stuff. Super cool.
That sounds so cool. One of the things that the three entrepreneurs have mentioned is how they actually receive so much support from their communities, from other entrepreneurs, and that is, I think, a big plus that we hopefully will continue. I think that also it is important for us to mention that the three of them went to an organization, received resources, but they're still working with them. And that's extremely important. If may I, Leslie, what were some valuable lessons that you learned? How do you surprise yourself in all this? What would you say that you actually learned from the COVID-19 pandemic?
What did I learn? I learned a lot. People need to eat. Everyone is still hungry, which is lovely. What was it?
They don't really like to cook. They'd rather let someone else do the work.
It's very true.
That's true.
Yeah, we learned never to give up too. We learned what worked and what didn't really quickly. We learned originally our concept was we had some different ideas for food, and we kind of pivoted. We kept pivoting. We're always pivoting because we come from a background where of marketing and sales backgrounds where you're always trying to think of, you're always problem solving. So if something's not working, don't keep doing it. Try to figure out what's gonna work. What can you do always? Just keep thinking, be creative, have new ideas. And I think that's just something that it's always just very embedded in us, and that we've brought over to us as entrepreneurs to keep going, be creative.
And a year later, what's happening for your company?
Yeah, so a year later,
Graduate.
yeah, we're about to graduate Hope and Maine. So we actually, I know it's been a wild year. So yeah, we started off with a concept of a food truck. We knew that it was going to be a lower overhead at the beginning too, and it was a good way to get our food out there to the state and reach customers, go to events, kind of see what items sell, what doesn't sell, try new specials each week to keep people really interested. And then we kind of do a little of everything. So we have the food truck. We try to do little catering events. We do prepared meals through What's Good, thanks to Lisa too. Maybe a packaged good in the later on. And we're actually building out our own space right now.
Awesome.
So yeah, I haven't announced it on my Instagram. So.
But also, one thing that we learned was the power of social media, because
Yes.
the biggest thing that we had to change was how are we going to reach and distribute, how are we going to reach customers, and how are we going to distribute that product.
Yeah.
Because a truck, if most of you know, experience a food truck, you're at some festival, you're at some event, there's a lot of people around Kennedy Plaza, downtown Providence at lunchtime, or I'm not sure how it really is in Newport, but none of that was there. So
Yeah.
we just had to hit social media hard and hustle and it worked.
Yeah.
We grew the business and hit our revenue
We
goals.
didn't have anything else to do.
I
So,
know.
so
So
thank you for sitting on Instagram
I
and
know.
Facebook
Thank
and
you.
clicking on our posts and ordering food and come and pick it up.
Yeah.
That worked.
That was good.
Basil and
worked.
Bunny did start, I don't know if you know, it did start off as a blog too, so it was kind of just, it started off as just like my free time, just kind of project, like I was learning to cook vegan, I was getting better at it, I was taking photos of stuff, I had come from an art background too, so I learned photography, and then just taking a lot of pictures, and just kind of growing from there, and the initial, when we first, right after the pandemic hit, and it was maybe like May, like
No,
April.
March.
Well, March, April, May, and those months, we weren't really sure what to do, so we were like, okay, let's just hang out in the back a couple days a week, and we'll see if people come, we'll put it out on social media, and, each day, like, we'd be like, yes, we got like 10 orders today, we got like 5 people are coming to visit us, and people kept telling their friends, and then our social media they kept sharing and liking, and then now we have many people that come, so thank you.
And we will follow. We will continue
Yes,
following
so
you on
please
social media.
follow, we post.
What about the connection? How will you actually describe the next steps?
I think, well, our next step, I just want to, you had asked what we learned, and I wanted to
Yeah.
point out that one of the most important things we learned is how vulnerable our population is, because as soon as the restaurants and the hotels closed, they were done. You and I could work at home, we could Zoom, we could do whatever. Nope, they got nothing. Like, we went to people and they were so happy just to see us, they would cry. They were so depressed. We had men who worked 2 or 3 jobs a day normally and are used to doing that and are used to providing their families, and they would come out just in tears because they were just sitting on their chairs like, I feel useless. I can't support my family. What am I going to do? And where are they going to go to work? There was nothing, absolutely nothing.
And as soon everybody were open, all the restaurants, they feel blessing, and they
Oh,
are
yeah.
so loyalty to the job that they have.
Yep.
So loyalty, and they, no matter what, they wait until they open. I don't want to find another because I like work here, and they are so loyalty.
Yep. And we even had some restaurateurs reach out to us and say, what can we do? How can we help them? We know that they're suffering. What can we do?
And I have to say that I have heard that a lot,
Yeah.
especially in the hospitality. They were saying about, I believe it's a restaurant that closed for the whole week, giving all their employees a trip to Vegas, and those that couldn't go, actually, they gave them the money and said, here is. I do believe, thank you,
Yeah.
that our population is very, very vulnerable.
And I just want to say that Yoli is actually going through the accelerator tonight, or today. I graduated.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
What about lessons learned? And yes, we are a few minutes over, but
Holy
this
smokes.
is very important.
Lessons learned. Lessons learned. I would have to say, and I'm gonna go almost with the polar opposite of normally. I always say like readiness is all and planning is everything and all those other trite expressions. I actually am gonna take all of that back, because I think sometimes the best ideas happen really kind of in a flash. Things can happen kind of in a kind of like a lightning speed round. And if you are inspired to do something, then absolutely do it. And even more so, Rhode Island is definitely a good place to try to do that, because God knows they've got some amazing resources in place to help you succeed. I think that other lessons I've learned really were, again, I can't say enough how important it is as a startup co-founder. Again, hi Todd, big props to you. Is finding the right partner, finding the right team. I lucked out. I am super lucky. I have an incredible co-founder. We have an amazing team. And I think that if it takes work, it takes a lot of respect, it takes a lot of time sometimes to identify that, but finding people who have complementary skill sets and not identical is key when you're launching something. You need people to round out what your business model actually is and what your product is, and really to be able to give you honest feedback. I mean, sometimes we come up with something and he'll look at me and go, God, that sucks, you know? And it's like, well, that's true. And fortunately, we have mentors who've been like, oh God, that's a terrible idea, you know? And then they'll come up with, you know, something, they'll say, well, how about this? Have you tried this? Why don't you look at this? And give us that objective feedback. And I think that that is really, like, if you always look for people who are going to give you the kiss and hug and be like, it's okay, honey, it'll be all right. It's like, it's not always going to be all right. And I think the last year proved that. You know, so if you're going to, you know, to try to do something, sometimes you can't be afraid to really do it with a really realistic perspective, but at the, you know, at the same time, you have to be eternally optimistic that things will work out, and it's been great to see that so, you know, for so many businesses it has. It's been kind of a cool testament to the ecosystem in Rhode Island. Guys rock.
That's
Yeah,
very true.
absolutely.
Did we have any questions from the audience? Oh my God.
Nothing.
Just a comment, I think, to piggyback what Ms. Amadi was saying, you know, moving quickly and not dwelling, if you're gonna keep trying and not dwelling too much on what, the plans that you had and just work with what, see what is working and going forward. I think that was my biggest lesson, because I am a PhD in procrastination. I do have that diploma. And I'm a perfectionist, so I try to do things until that I feel like it's to my likings, then I'll go do it. And with the pandemic, there was no time to overthink. It was, you go, you do this, the opportunity is there now. If it works, great. If it doesn't work, you take notes and you go back and you do what you need to do. So it made me speed up things and work on demand instead of waiting to be perfect to put it out there. So in a way that I think that was fantastic.
By the way, your lemonade is awesome. We have another question in the back. Okay, who's going to take that first?
I can, yeah, I'll grab it. You know, I would love to say that, you know, we kind of joke thinking that, you know, that it'd be great if the day ever came where we weren't needed anymore. But I don't think that's going to happen, at least anytime soon. So our immediate goals are actually, we're pursuing, working to take the work that we're doing national. And looking at partnering up and contracting with large retailers and online marketplaces and things like that, so that we're able to really make an impact across the country. I think Rhode Island and New England has been an awesome launch pad, but we now have the traction, thanks to Rhode Island, thanks to people like Annette, that is going to allow us the credibility and the momentum to keep going. So yeah, I'm psyched, I'm pumped, I'm going right across the country.
Sounds good. What you want to say?
Our goal is just to create a self-sufficient community that doesn't need us anymore. To create an accessible city and a self-sufficient community that can actually make those connections themselves, and then we can go on vacation.
Yeah,
Or retire or something.
That sounds good. What about Basil and Bonnie?
Yeah, we're all about removing the stigma from vegan and plant-based. I'm sure a lot of you in here might be more open to it, but there still is a level of, oh, really? So it'd be great in 2030 just to walk into any restaurant or cafe or anything and see that on the menu, and not that it's plant-based or vegan, but that it's just delicious food that comes from plants. So our slogan is all your favorite foods made from plants. So it's still delicious and still great. It can still be up on that menu.
Yeah.
It'd be awesome to
Yeah,
see.
why do they do that? They put all the plant-based stuff, unless it's a special restaurant, at the bottom.
I
Exactly.
know.
That's-
Because I'm plant-based, and I'm always like, oh God, please let them have something. You're like, tick, 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 tick.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
should be at
exactly.
the top.
It should be. It just could be mixed in. It could be all mixed in. All
Right.
mixed in. I think one of the greatest things was when Beyond Meat put their burgers in the meat section
Yes.
of the supermarket. That
Yep.
was great to see because that's where it just should be. It's
Yep. That's an excellent.
I'd
We
also
will
love-
take one more. I'm sorry.
I'd also love to have a basil and bunny in Hawaii one day.
Oh.
I'd love to live there, so I'd like to have my New England so I can come back in the fall and then just live in Hawaii and have my basil and bunny there.
I do numbers. I can be an accountant. I can do. Trust me. I will definitely do that. We will take one more question, and anyone? Well, if we don't have any more questions, I would like to thank you all. I would like to thank you for what you're doing. I would like to thank you for all the work that you have done in the time that all of us were crying probably at home, looking into what was going on. RI Hub, SCG, Hope in Maine, I don't know what we would do without all of you because our entrepreneurs need a lot of support. And with that, I just want to say thank you. Molly, thank you for the honor of me moderating this panel. You guys are awesome, and I wish you the best.
Thank you for being a great moderator.
To recognize the many entrepreneurs who came out to support other entrepreneurs today. Raise your hand if you're an entrepreneur and you have your own business. So we want to thank all of you. It's really important that this community support one another, and we found that out in such a vital way during the pandemic. So we're grateful to everyone in this room for supporting each other.
Very important. Very, very important. And now it's just bingo.
We can eat now. Awesome.
Thank you for doing this.
Did I do it?
Awesome.